Hello, Thrive Nation. Hope you thrivers are thriving and not just surviving in this crazy Corona coaster time. Well, I've got an incredible biohacker who's got her roots here in South Africa and who lives abroad. I think in Canada, isn't that right, young Biohacking Brittany?
Yes, yeah, that is right. That's correct.
So I've got Brittany, the biohacker from overseas. What a privilege to have her. She's really an international figure. And without sort of sounding sort of sexist at all, she's a biohacker who's female. And I just thought that was incredible. I follow her on Instagram and she's got an amazing Instagram feed. It is just incredible. So welcome to the show, Biohacking Brittany.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. It's really, really cool to talk to a South African. I was born in South Africa and moved to Canada when I was a kid and love going back there, love everything about it. So happy to be here.
Cool, cool. I just like saying biohacking Brittany, so I'm going to say it a few times in the show if you don't mind. But let me get your backstory in terms of South Africa, where you grew up, how your interests were in health and when you moved across and what you've done, because I see that you're a registered holistic nutritionist. So give us a little bit of the backstory, Brittany.
Yeah, so I was born in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal and lived there for a while. And then we moved to outside of Joburg in Benoni, which is terrible now, but it wasn't as bad when we lived there in the 90s. And yeah, my dad got a job in Canada and looked at immigrating the family, and we moved, and it's been amazing. And I feel very privileged to be able to live in Canada now. But still very, very much feel a connection to South Africa and feel like it's home. And every time I go back, it feels very, just very like grounding almost, and there's kind of like this sense of community there that's quite different from Canada, which I like. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so when did you move over? How old were you? And how did you get involved in health and nutrition?
Yeah, so I think I was 9, turning 10. I've been back 3 times already. I was planning on going back this year, but currently can't with the pandemic. And yeah, so I got into health when I was in my teen years. I had a lot of health struggles and had a lot of lack of answer. I went to my traditional doctor and she basically said nothing was wrong with me. And I started going down this road of natural healing. I went to a naturopath, I went to a nutritionist, I did different testing, and really just fell in love with this idea of healing the body through nature and also looking at the root cause of your symptoms rather than just suppressing them or putting a Band-Aid on them. And so that's kind of like spurred my love for it. And then I started healing myself or helping my body to heal, and eventually decided that I was going to make a career out of it. And that's kind of like in a nutshell what happened.
Cool. Really nice story, from pain to purpose. As many of the people that I've interviewed, a lot of them suffered, a lot of them went through ill health, disease, chronic problems, and then had to sort it out themselves and figure it out themselves. But was it nature or nurture that you decided not to just accept conventional medical wisdom that moved you into natural health?
Oh, that's such a good question. Wow, nature or nurture? It was probably nature. Like, I feel like it was something inside me that said, like, this is not okay, and this is not what I'm going to accept. It wasn't nurture for sure. Like, my parents at the time didn't know any better. They weren't into natural health. So for some reason it kind of came within. And yeah, that's such an interesting question.
Okay, so a little bit of nature in your genetic sort of code and expression, epigenetic expression, that you wanted to find the root cause. And having done a lot of personality profiles based on genetics, I'm pretty convinced that the people that ask the question why or why not, and that's roughly about 18 to 20% of the population, are people that often are contrarian in view, that seek to find out answers that they're not sort of happy with regards to whether it's their health, whether it's their finance, whether it's a world system, a political view. And so I've come across probably about 20% that say, listen, I'm not going to carry on taking the drugs. They're not working. I'm going to research. I'm going to look at other options. And so you probably fall into one of those categories. And does that translate to the clients that you coach?
Yeah, definitely. It's just because you have some sort of diagnosis, or just because you're on medication or whatever you're doing right now, doesn't mean you have to continue that way. And there are alternatives. And it's so different now with social media and wellness and biohacking. Like, the movement that I've watched for the last 10 years, like, it is so much more popular now. There's books, there's podcasts, like, you can really take a deep dive and find things yourself and talk to people, and you have access to way more information now, which is very, very liberating for people.
Possibly it's a South African phenomena, but it's very conservative in terms of medical treatments, assessments here, and people are not open to, the biohacking as much as I think they are in the US and Canada. Do you think we about 5 years behind with regards to biohacking and looking at alternative health?
Yeah, maybe 5 years. You would know better than I would. I know when I recently lived in New Zealand for almost a year, they were quite behind as well. But they're so rooted in their culture, and same with South Africa. Like, there's a lot of healthier aspects that South Africa is doing or New Zealand's doing that Canada is not doing. So I think it probably evens out. I don't know. I think it probably evens out.
Okay, cool. Now, you've been on so many podcasts. I've had a good look at your website, and it's just, I salute you. Well done. You are an international figure in many respects. I've interviewed Tim Gray, the UK's biohacker. I'm looking as being Africa's #1 pro biohacker. I've seen Lunt, a lot of these, international figures that have got, podcasts, they've got books, they've got exposure, and they've got big communities. Tell me, in Brittany, is it Ford? Is that your surname?
Yeah.
In Brittany Ford's sort of language, what is a biohacker?
Interesting. Yeah, the way that I define biohacking is holistic self-care for optimal health. So I think a biohacker is somebody who understands that in order to create optimal health, it takes more than just a diet or a fitness plan or the latest gadget. It requires a very, very holistic approach. So you look at your hormones and your stress and your relationships and your environment and all of these factors that make you you. It's more than one pillar, right? And the best biohackers understand that. They totally, totally understand that. And then they learn and quantify themselves, and then upgrade and work towards optimal health from there. So you can quantify yourself through data, right? So you can use something like an OURA ring, you can get blood tests done, there's all to like many, many ways to do it. But I think like the holistic view and the quantifying yourself are like very, very key things to being a biohacker.
Fantastic. So tell us a little about your own personal health journey, how you use biohacking to upgrade and optimize your health.
Yeah, so many different directions I can take that. When I started with my health issues when I was a teenager, it was primarily gut health issues. And I was having symptoms that I couldn't figure out. And so I had to start cleaning up my diet. I had to start taking supplements to heal the gut. And so I have a lot of experience with gut health because that's how I got started. And now my gut is thankfully in a pretty good place. Like sometimes it will flare up, but usually when I stick to more of a paleo diet, sometimes keto, sometimes fasting, my gut is in a very healthy place. And with the right supplements as well. So that's kind of like my gut health world. I also have had hormonal issues in the last couple of years where my menstrual cycle got very irregular, got very long. And so I had to really look at how to regulate my cycle and how to yeah, make sure my hormones are balanced, right? Like I don't have kids, but I definitely want to have kids one day. And so the biohacker in me says, okay, let's get tested right now. Let's improve your hormones right now so that one day when I do have kids, it's not an issue, right? It's not like this sudden like thing that I'm exposed to that I had no idea that, my estrogen was too high or my testosterone was too high, whatever it is. Like I'm very well aware of where I'm at. And so in terms of the way that I biohack my health, I think it is a lot of collecting data and a lot of testing and a lot of like awareness in general. Like I'm very much aware of my digestion, my skin, my sleep, my stress levels every single day. Like I'm very aware day to day how my health is. Maybe too much so, because there's kind of a negative side to biohacking too, or like a dark side. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Brilliant. In terms of your gut issues and your hormonal issues, what were the key audits that you did, and what were the relevant interventions based on those audits?
Yeah, I mean, with my gut, it was a lot of leaky gut was what I was dealing with. And so for those who don't know, leaky gut basically means that the nutrients from your food are slipping through your gut lining into your bloodstream, and that can cause inflammation and issues. And so through testing, I did a live blood cell analysis test. It showed I had leaky gut, and I was able to heal the gut and take certain supplements. The biggest one that helped me at the time was aloe vera juice, actually. Because just like aloe vera, the plants, like when you put it on your skin, when you have a sunburn, it's very healing. It's very medicinal. It kind of works similar when you drink it and you have it on your gut lining. And so that was very helpful for me, was actually healing the gut lining, cleaning up the diet, and absorbing my food, which then reduced the symptoms, right? Because I was actually getting the vitamins and minerals and nutrients from food. It wasn't just like slipping right through me and useless. So that was kind of like what that looked like. And then for my hormones, I did a lot of testing, a lot of blood tests. I was seeing a gynecologist at the time. This was last spring. So like April 2020, like about a year ago, actually. And he just kept giving me like test after test because they thought I might have PCOS. And so they tested my blood sugar and my hormones and my cortisol and like other things. But I don't have PCOS. And so they were so unsure of what was going on. And then I got so fed up with all of the tests that I said, okay, I'm just going to do this myself without you. And I'm going to put myself on my own protocol, like exactly what I would do for a client, and see how it goes. So I started that last May, went on specific supplements and herbs that help balance hormones. And my cycle got so much better and started regulating itself. So yeah, it's kind of like where I'm at now. Yeah, the stories actually have a lot of like similarities now that I'm like comparing them, but yeah.
Sounds incredible. I know that one of your freebies is Biohack Your Cycle Guide. Tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, I just think women's health and biohacking and natural health are so important. And it seems that a lot of biohackers that are data driven are men, but I think there's such a huge scope, and that's what I like about Biohacking Brittany. It's got such a good feel. Your Instagram is just so radical. It's like you're really reaching people that might not be reached by others. So tell us about that, biohacking your cycle.
Yeah. So basically what that means is that there's 4 different phases of your menstrual cycle, and you're not going to feel the same per phase. So women's hormones tend to work on a 28-day, 30-day cycle, whereas men's hormones usually work on a 24-hour cycle. So what you do in like when you're ovulating versus when you have your period is going to feel so different. Your body is so different, like chemically and hormonally. So the way that we treat our body, it doesn't make sense to push it very hard every single day of the month. And the Biohack Your Cycle guide gives just like general ideas and guidelines around supporting the phase that you're in. So it talks about exercise, it talks about supplements, it talks about nutrition and different things that you can do to support your body as you go through each phase.
Sounds incredible. And I think every woman should have a look at that, because I think they can
Yeah.
do specific things at the different cycles. And it's not well known, generally people will get in my other life as a physician of Chinese medicine, we give a lot of supplements and herbs with regards to regulating cycles and dealing with pain and those type of things. But it's very specific according to the cycle. So I think I'll send the community there, and hopefully they can download that freebie, learn quite a lot, and look at the other things that you're doing. Great. So tell me a little bit more about just where Biohacking Brittany is going in the future. I know that you've developed this incredible electromagnetic radiation underwear called EMFs. Is that EMFs? So tell us a little bit more about that and where Biohacking Brittany is going.
Yeah. So last fall in October, while I was really working on my menstrual cycle, my hormones, I started thinking about the environment around me. So even before COVID, I was working online. My business is 100% online. So I'm constantly surrounded by computers, my phone, Wi-Fi. I'm in an apartment, so everything is kind of magnified. I'm not very grounded here at all. And I started thinking about how this radiation surrounding me is impacting my body every single day for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day for so long. And I know there's a lot of brands out there that have developed EMF blocking underwear for men. So I started looking into ones for females, and the ones out there are awful. I mean, I think there's 3 brands out there, and they are granny panties, and I would never wear them ever. Like, just to be honest, like, they're just not practical, and they're not comfortable, and they're not, like, how am I going to wear them? Like, they're just not, I don't know. They're probably not made by women. I think that's what's going on. So I was like, okay, there's no like very popular brand for women. And if I don't develop this, somebody else is going to, because we're getting more and more aware of how technology is impacting our health, how EMF is impacting our health. And so I want to be able to protect myself when I'm working at my computer every single day. So I started developing them, and the pre-orders are launching very, very soon. I work with a fashion designer, and so they're actually cute and comfortable underwear. It's not like this thing that you would never wear. And they protect you. They protect your ovaries from the harmful effects that are around you. And they're also antibacterial too. So women who deal with yeast infections or any type of bacteria or even viral issue down there, this actually, the fabric in them kills bacteria on contact. So it's healthier underwear. It's healthier than anything else out there. So that's what's coming. It's launching in a couple of weeks for pre-orders. It's been a passion project turned business. And I'm really, really excited about it.
Cool. I've studied as a geobiologist, and I'm an electromagnetic radiation specialist. Studied in Melbourne, Australia, which with a company called GeoVital, which is I've got all the measuring tools. We do home assessments, office assessments, and there's over 10,000 studies on the damaging effect of electromagnetic radiation. So I think it's really pertinent. And hopefully, are you going to be supplying South Africa, or how is it going to work? How can people order? How can they pre-order? Can they get delivered here? Are they going to be couriered? We obviously got a lot of issues with the postal service here, but tell us, how can people sort of order?
Yeah, so definitely international shipping. I have a lot of international followers and audience, and so that is a priority. Actually, most of my audience is not in Canada. So it's very important for me to be able to ship to South Africa and help women out there. It'll depend how many you order and like the weight and how much it's going to cost, but it's definitely going to be available.
Tell us a little bit about the research on electromagnetic radiation and infertility or menstrual issues. You obviously found, you must have researched yourself, having a look and saying, listen, I'm in this electromagnetic soup. It's probably affecting my menstrual cycle. I need to do something about it. And so now you've obviously, once again, developed a business out of it. But what about the research and science?
Yeah. So the current research right now shows how it delays ovulation for a woman. So when you're delaying ovulation, like you can get pregnant during ovulation, right? So that's the only time of the month that you can get pregnant. If you're delaying ovulation by a few days, by a week, you're actually reducing your fertility, right? So that's kind of where the research is in terms of that. That can create irregular cycles, that can create further problems in the future. But that's a big issue, whether you're trying to get pregnant or not, just to keep a regular cycle, keep your hormones balanced. And it's pretty scary. It's scary when you put your phone in your pocket all the time and you never even think about this, or you're sitting on the couch and you have your computer on your lap and it's just right there on your reproductive parts. And same with men, but like, it's like very, very close. So that's a big thing. There's research on pregnancy too, how it can affect your newborn in terms of like birth defects, in terms of miscarriages as well. I don't know the specific numbers, and I also don't want to like scare people, because I know that's like very scary to think about how these things can kind of lead to that. But I think generally we need to be aware of our environment. And I'm not somebody who's against technology at all. Like I said, like my whole business is online, but we have to be cautious. We have to think about how it's impacting our bodies and how it's impacting our health. And I would rather do something now and protect myself now than deal with further, more complicated issues in the future. Sounds
incredible. When are you developing your men's range?
I'm not. Everyone asks me that. I'm not. It's for women, and
that's cool.
Maybe kids. Someone asked me about a kids line, maybe that one day, but I really want to support female health. And like you said, there's not a lot of female biohackers out there. And so I really want to bring that and explode that. Right. So.
Cool. So if men want to get hold of the, I know I'm looking to interview the guys from, I think is it Lamb. They've got a product. Yeah. Who would you recommend for men in terms of protecting their genitals? And, men traditionally put their phones in their pockets. I tell people most of the time, 95% of my phone is on airplane mode. And if it is on, I'm not putting it in my pocket. But who could you refer, men to where to get your electromagnetic sort of protection underwear?
Yeah. Get Lambs is a good brand. A lot of people really like theirs. There's a few other ones, but I think that is probably the most popular one in the biohacking space. They do a lot of sponsorships for conferences that I go to, and I see them everywhere. So yeah, I would check out them. But I also don't wear men's underwear, so I don't know specifically what you guys look for, etc. Yeah.
Have you not tried them on your clients, or do you have siblings, or your dad, or?
Yeah, my partner. So I have a fiance, and he has a few, and he seems to really like them.
Okay.
And yeah, have you tried any?
I haven't. We haven't. It's not really available here in South Africa, and I haven't got to interview the founder of Lambs. But I think that would be the start to try and connect and see. A lot of the guys, the biohackers that I follow, recommend that, and they've interviewed. But I don't actually know. That's why I'm asking for someone like you who's done the research and you've looked into it. If or which one is the best, product.
So they don't ship internationally to South Africa?
I don't know. I haven't investigated, I don't know. Okay. I haven't looked at the research and the branding. I thought I'd speak to you who's looked at the research, looked at the branding, and see which is the best for men. Obviously I'd love to support you. If you didn't like the ones for females, then it's an upgrade. So, we can even look at looking at doing something for the ladies here. And infertility is on the increase dramatically, across the world and in big cities. And I work in my other life as a physician, I work with a lot of infertility patients and infertility clinics. And so from a hormonal point of view, that could be very beneficial. And it would be interesting to see if there's research once the ladies start wearing these things, if things improve, if their cycles improve, if their fertility improves. It would be fascinating to look at that.
Yeah, I think infertility impacts 1 in 8 couples now, and it's only increasing. And that's a lot. Like 1 in 8 couples is a lot. Like that's scary. And of course, you know, EMF and environment is not the only factor for that. I think there's a lot that goes into that in terms of lifestyle and nutrition and other issues. But we do need to look at the environment as well.
Great. I wanted to just to walk us through a coaching journey. If someone wanted to contact you, what do you do? How do you assess them? You know, what's the process forward?
Yeah, so I work with clients in a few different ways. Mostly it's always online, but it depends what somebody comes to me for. Sometimes it's gut health issues, sometimes it's hormones, and we'll either work together as an initial consult with follow-ups or monthly, where we meet every 2 weeks, every week, and really dive into your health. So you fill out my intake forms, like typical what you would expect. And then I'll recommend further testing if I think you need it. Something like Viome, something like hormones. And then we analyze your results and kind of create a holistic biohacking plan. I provide meal plans, recipes, all the nutrition part, also supplement recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and biohacking. So it's a very like 360 approach, because that's what's worked for me. And so that's kind of what I do with my clients.
Brilliant. I got to interview James Maskell, who wrote The Community Cure, incredible book. And he knows Dr. Mark Hyman really well. And Mark Hyman said something so fascinating that's gripped me for a while, that community is the greatest force to bring about sustained change. How do you walk out the process with your clients? How do you plug them into different communities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's really difficult right now with COVID. Our typical communities have been put into question, but I think with social media, we have access to a much bigger global community. And that's what I see with biohacking. So if a client comes to me and they're very much involved in biohacking, I can direct them to different people on different platforms that they like to use. And even something like Clubhouse now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Clubhouse, but there's rooms in there that have 250, 1,000 biohackers, and people just plug in and listen to somebody talk, right? So that's creating a community of people who are like-minded. That's encouraging you to keep going and keep being healthier. Same with Instagram, even TikTok, like depends on your platform. But for me, like that's what I've done is I've found my community through social media. I wish there was more of a biohacking community where I am right now, but we're not there yet, but it's coming.
Cool. Where exactly in Canada are you living now, Brittany?
So I'm in Vancouver, and Vancouver is a very healthy place. Like all of BC, all of the West Coast is very healthy, I would say. So like wellness is a thing here, you know, like Lululemon started in Vancouver. So we kind of have this whole wellness, whole foods type of way. But the biohacking part of that is slowly coming. But it's increasing. It's definitely increasing. And do you see that in South Africa? Like, do you see the biohacking community growing?
It's still quite new here, and it's quite a challenge because you got to create awareness. And as I said, South Africans are very conservative, but I do think it'll grow with the internet and with social media. But we're waiting. There are not too many biohackers that I know of that are really getting out there. And also a lot of them have to sort of live dual lives initially because, you know, people aren't spending money on that easily, especially with COVID-19. So it is a bit of a mind shift. People who do have the finances generally stick to conventional Western, you know, medicine, or if they do see a doctor, they'll see a functional medicine doctor. So it's I think it'll grow. I'm hoping that people start taking accountability of their health more, that they realize they walk a journey with their health coach or with their health practitioner, rather than, going to a doctor, seeing them every 6 months, getting supplements, and then saying, okay, goodbye, do a few lifestyle sort of changes. Because I'm pretty convinced that a health coach is going to be the way of the future to help continually implement or be a sounding board for many clients. I'm getting to interview Chris Cresso from the Cresso Institute soon. We're looking to be, we've been approved as partners, affiliate partners there, to help South Africans and people abroad get a health coach certification that is extensive. His course is extensive. I've got a health coach that works for me and with me in Made to Thrive, that is an incredible human being who's got just incredible insights, and he went through the Chris Cresso process. So he's been fantastic, but it's been very difficult to people to adopt health coaches. And the functional medicine doctors don't incorporate health coaching in their pricing. So it gets tricky. Someone at the Cleveland Clinic now who's a functional medicine doctor does a lot of group visits. He can sit there with a health coach and see 8 very similar type patients at that same time. And the research of the Cleveland Clinic showing that those 8 patients, if they get together in a group, they share stories, share testimonies, be accountable to one another, see the functional medicine doc and have the health coach walk a journey with them, their results are far, far better. So I think there is a scope, but I think we're a little bit wet behind the ears here in South Africa and Africa.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we're moving away from traditional practices and into much more personal healthcare in general. And we're seeing this everywhere with nutritionists and even supplements that are created personally for people now, compared to just picking something up at the drugstore. There's so many brands now online where you can meet with a health coach, or you can fill out a bunch of forms and it will send you like a personalized supplement bundle every month and that type of thing. So I think we're very much moving towards a more liberal approach to healthcare. And I think it's needed. Like, I think we have had success with the current healthcare model. I mean, of course, it's different per country slightly, but we've had success, but we're not there yet. We're not in a place of optimal health, or most people are very healthy. And so I think that's why there's so much change right now, because people are like, this isn't working. We need to try something else. Yeah. What can we do? And then that's when we get biohacking coming through, health coaches coming through, because people are creating solutions to a problem. So it makes a lot of sense.
Cool. Just from a biohacking point of view, I've had an OURA ring for 2 years, which I found very beneficial. Have a looking at my heart rate variability, HRV, and worn a CGM, and interviewed the folk at NutriSense, which were incredible, and just their product and their app. If you look at CGM, heart rate variability, the OURA ring, we use a core sense, which is from Elite HRV to measure your HRV as well, which is an incredible product. Tell us about sort of your key top biohacks that you recommend people have, adopt or use. I know it's patient or client specific, but what has generally been good biohacks for Brit?
In terms of HRV?
No, just in terms of general, do you use a CGM? Do you use OURA? What's been very beneficial for yourself and your clients? What else has been? Do you use a chili pad? Do you have an infrared sauna? What are the things that have really been game changers for your clients?
Cool. So I got an OURA ring 2 years ago. I actually won it in a contest, which is hilarious. And I knew of OURA like much before that, like a year, maybe 2 years before that. And I wish I had bought one the moment I heard about it, because when you get an OURA ring or any type of sleep tracker, like as comprehensive as OURA is, it totally changes the way that you view your health and the way that you view sleep. So at the time when I got it in the beginning of 2019, I was waking up multiple times throughout the night. I wasn't sleeping very well. And so I really took the time, basically all of 2019, to figure out how to sleep better. And now I've gotten it down so specifically. My sleep is so good. And it's mostly thanks to OURA, because it literally just like gave me the data and showed me like, this is what's happening. Okay, try this different biohack. Oh, it worked. It didn't work. Okay, try something else. So for sleep, I try to go to bed around the same time every night. I always read before I go to sleep. I have lights in my apartment that go red, so no blue light. And I wear blue blocking glasses like yours, except they're the red ones for nighttime. And I create an atmosphere that's very calming. So I do not work out at nighttime ever, maybe a walk, and like that's it. Nothing stimulating. I try not to eat like 2 to 3 hours before I go to sleep. So it's a very like reading, candles, calming atmosphere. And if I am watching a movie, you know, I have my blue blockers on, and all the other lights in the apartment are red or they're off and it's dark. So when I started doing that and started making it actually feel like nighttime and not just like stimulated by everything around me, my sleep got so much better, like so much better. You know, I keep my room very cold. I, you know, have a sleep mask. I, do a bunch of different things like that. And even now, like if I wake up in the middle of the night and I go to the bathroom, I literally, I keep my sleep mask on and I walk blinded in the dark to the bathroom and back, because I know that the moment I open my eyes and see even a sliver of light, it is going to stimulate me and I'm going to have a harder time falling back asleep. And so when I started doing that as well, like sleep got so much better. So in terms of sleep, like that's kind of my biohacking routine as of right now. And it works very, very well for me.
Cool. Yeah, a little tip that I found out from Dr. Leland Stillman. You check him out. He's an international internal medicine physician who's got a meme, Light Shapes Life. And he sits on the scientific advisory board of Mate to Thriving, incredible human being. And he wears a little red headlamp if he has to go. So he keeps the red light at night. And that's, you know, I think photobiomodulation and circadian biology and watching your light diet, I'm pretty convinced is as important as your food diet. And more important for some people, less maybe for others. But I think light is such an important sign to your body about your circadian clock. Maybe you want to just tell us about your morning routine as a biohacker, Britt.
Yeah, so it changes a lot and it changes with the seasons too. As of right now, I wake up and the first thing I do is I take my temperature. And this is because this is how I track my menstrual cycle. So I know when I'm ovulating, and I know when my period's coming. So it's actually my form of birth control is like tracking my body temperature. So I take my temperature, I get up, have a bunch of water, usually go for a walk now. The days are longer here in Canada. We're in spring. So the sun is up at like 6 now. And so I get up, we have a new puppy, take the puppy for a walk for about an hour, and go down to the ocean. And so that morning routine is like my favorite because it's so calming. And I don't take my phone. I don't even look at my phone. Like I just do that. Sometimes I'll take water, sometimes I'll take coffee. But that's the best for sure. And I actually have my phone set to, I forgot what it's called, but none of my apps open until 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So you can like snooze. I forget, I have an iPhone. I forgot what it's called, but you can decide when you can access the apps. So I have them turn off at 7 p.m. and turn back on at 8:30 a.m. So I don't get any notifications and I don't look at anything. And I've been doing that for like 2 years or so. So I'm so used to it now. But it's awesome because even if I do use my phone, say I grabbed it and wanted to look at a photo, it's not like I'm grabbing my phone and there's all these like emails or work, which releases cortisol and just like stresses you out. So it's very, very calming. So So that's kind of what that looks like right now, but it changes all the time. But I really make sure that before 8 a.m., I usually start work at 8, I have time for myself. And whether it's outdoors going for a walk, or this morning I did a 45-minute yoga class on YouTube, and stretched and just like meditated. Like I just create space for me to breathe before work starts.
Sounds good. Any other biohacks? Infrared sauna has been my number one biohack. It's been a game changer to my own health from a detox point of view, from a sweating point of view, from a light perspective. The chili pad is on my bed with regards to keeping that pretty cool. My wife and myself have got different temperature regulations. But tell us about other biohacks that you've adopted that you found very beneficial.
Yeah, I love, love, love saunas. I'm almost like addicted to saunas. It's weird. I don't know. I have like a little sauna right now in my apartment. It's like you sit on a little like camping chair and it like goes around you. It's tiny. But I do, when we buy a house soon, I do plan on getting a sauna, and I want to get a like wood barrel one. I personally prefer traditional saunas, but infrared saunas are very, very healthy, and a lot of people swear by them. But for me, saunas, I like the high temperatures. So I want it to go to 180, 190 Fahrenheit compared to an infrared sauna that's usually around 140 Fahrenheit. I find the detoxing from it is amazing, like you talked about, but also the mental health aspect to it. And there's something about sitting in a sauna for 45 minutes, an hour with a book, or just like with nothing. And I don't know what it is, but like I just come out, maybe it's the endorphins, I come out feeling amazing. It's almost like I go in with like all of these thoughts, and then I come out with like solutions. Like there's just the mental health benefit from it for me is probably the number one factor that I do it. Like it just relieves so much stress. And so if you have access to a sauna, like sauna every day, because it's so good for you, so good for the brain, so good for the body. And I think they're becoming very, very popular now. Like in North America, much more popular than they've been previously.
Absolutely. And I'm partner with Sauna Space. You should try them. Infrared sauna, and also from an electromagnetic point of view, they're electromagnetic free, which I've checked out. An incredible product. It's portable as well. And so we partnered with them for a while. Good people, incredible service. And so the Made to Thrive community is really, really blessed to have, having a partner that is just so well researched, so well documented, and they're based in Missouri in the US. So give them a shout or check it out. What else, young Brittany? You are starting at such a young age. I feel that you've just got your streets ahead of everyone. You started this biohacking journey so early. What else I know you've mentioned cold plunges before on Instagram. What else has been beneficial to you? I know you mentioned the OURA ring. What else are you doing in your daily routine?
Yeah, I really like cold plunges, like you talked about. I think there's something to be said about getting uncomfortable. I don't think we do that as much as we used to, or as much as we should. We lead very, very comfortable lives. And when you take a cold shower or you jump in the ocean and it's cold, you become very uncomfortable very quickly. But it feels amazing. And so I really try to do some sort of cold water dip or swim or whatever once a week, maybe twice a week. Cold showers are beneficial, and it kind of has the same response. You get very energized and very awake from them. But I find I feel so much better if I do them in nature, in like a lake or a river or an ocean or the ocean. So yeah, and you just feel so vitalized. And also like people swear by them for different benefits too. So not just the mental health aspect, but also for like skin, right? So I forget who was telling me, but someone was telling me how they started doing cold showers to actually get rid of, I think it was like stretch marks on their breasts from breastfeeding. And because once you turn off the cold shower, there's like a rush of blood to wherever it got cold. it actually helped heal it faster because it was bringing so much oxygen, so much blood, so much nutrients to the skin. So I think there's a lot to be said about cold therapy. And Wim Hof talks about it all the time, and other experts in the space. And it's cool because it's another like free biohack, right? Like, I think biohacking can be very like, buy the latest gadget and buy the latest thing that's going to make you healthier. But there's a lot to be said about free biohacks that we have in nature. And the biohacks that I stick to frequently, like week in and week out, tend to be the free ones. I mean, maybe aside from a sauna, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But there's other ones too, right? Like, people love red light therapy. I go back and forth on red light therapy. It's okay. I mean, I've had some success with it, but I don't do it very frequently. I'm not sure if you do, but there's a lot, right? The space is growing. The space is growing for sure.
Great. To my female listeners, and we've got a lot of females listening to the show, what are the top things that they should be looking for, that they should be addressing, whether they think they're healthy or not? And as we know, people sometimes look healthy, they might be exercising, they might be eating a nutrient-dense diet. But for the females out there, what should they be doing with regards to auditing and interventions?
Yeah, I mean, assuming you're in reproductive age and you're not postmenopausal, I think like the biggest thing is becoming aware of your cycle. So do you know when you're ovulating? Do you know when your period's coming? Are you having a regular cycle? And if you are having a regular cycle, are you having any symptoms that go along with that though? Right? Like, people think PMS is normal. They think moodiness is normal, or pain, or whatever that they're dealing with when they get their period or before their period. But it actually doesn't have to be like that. And there's a lot you can do to reduce those symptoms that you're facing. It can be like lifestyle changes. Usually diet is a big one for a lot of females and males, but for this specifically, there's a lot you can do. So I think for women who are interested in biohacking, look at your cycle and start there, and try and track it too. If you start tracking your cycle, the earlier you start, the better. Like, if you're, planning to get pregnant, in 5 years, 10 years, if you start tracking your cycle now, you're going to have so much data to refer back to if you struggle getting pregnant or if something happens, right? So you have a baseline to go back to, and that is huge. That is so, so helpful compared to just getting testing when something goes wrong, because then you know what your levels were like when you were healthy. So the more data, the better in terms of something like this. And now there's so many apps that you can use too, right? To like track different things, and free apps too, like nothing you have to like subscribe to or anything, to really keep track of like your symptoms and what you're going through. And I just really want to see women really engage and explode in the biohacking space, and quantify themselves. And we're starting to see it, and it's increasing. But I don't think we're there yet. And I don't think, I would like to see more prominent female biohackers, like leaders, to be honest. Like, all the biohackers who are leading the pack are men, and they're Caucasian men too, which is a whole nother issue. Yeah. So I would like to see more diversity in biohacking, and I think it is happening. And so it's awesome that we have people like you who are really spreading this word to South Africa and to women in different places so that we can increase that.
Cool. Thank you so much. Last two questions. We're coming to the end of the show, but what I find is that people who've incorporated sort of a lot of lifestyle changes, a lot of supplements, a lot of biohacking, are really good for 6 months, maybe 9 months, maybe a year. But to maintain the sustained change, to maintain the lifestyle habits, just to maintain a good, healthy, clean, nutrient-dense diet is very difficult. And a lot of people say that's low-hanging fruit. I feel to change your nutritional plan is probably the hardest thing for people to do. Tell us, what are your keys or pieces of advice that you can give the audience with regards to sustaining your transformation?
Yeah, such a good question. Um, it depends. It depends on the person. So some people are very, very um, self-dedicated and will do something in order to keep themselves accountable. And some people work much better when they have external pressure, whether it's from a health coach or from a partner who's going through the health journey with them. So I think it's really about what works for you and how can you stay dedicated. For me personally, like it's very much myself. Like I don't really need external people to help me stay motivated and help me stay on track. But I use a lot of journals and a lot of planners and spreadsheets, and I really track myself and keep things open on my desk and keep my supplements out and keep my water out. So I have these constant reminders in my face every single day. And that's what I would suggest is like figure out, do you need to create specific tools that help keep you accountable in terms of like a journal or like a food journal or something like that? Or do you need a partner or a friend or a health coach to check in on you and call you and ask you, hey, how's this going? I also think like a lot of people will put supplements in a in a cupboard and never see them, and they kind of forget about their gym membership, and they might buy the latest biohacking technology and use it for a week and then they store it away. But for me, like the constant visual reminders really help me as well. So I usually keep everything out that I'm currently using, so I can try use it every single day or a few times a week. But it's hard. Like I'm not going to tell you it's easy. Like it's hard. It's hard to stay healthy every single day. It's hard when you're in a pandemic and you're home all the time. It's hard when you have a family. It's hard when you have stress from work. Like it's not easy. And the hard thing with health is that even if you're healthy today, that's awesome, but you still have to choose to be healthy tomorrow. Like it's not like this one time thing that's going to last the rest of your life. Like it's literally every single day for the rest of your life, you have to choose to be healthy and you have to take responsibility for your health, right? Like when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you're dealing with X, Y, and Z, this is what you should do. You need to ask yourself, like, what caused that? Has it been 10, 15 years of poor lifestyle factors or poor lifestyle choices that I've made? Right. So I think there's an aspect of responsibility that we need to take for our own personal health. And a lot of people actually don't do that. And so biohacking is changing that for sure.
Brilliant. 2020 was a year that I sort of developed my own breathwork techniques. I grew more in breathing more than in any other area. It was a little bit of a game changer for me, maybe an awakening, sort of just really understanding breathwork. I got to interview Patrick McKeown twice now in the last year from the Oxygen Advantage, and just released another book called The Breathing Cure. Just give us a short sort of breathing exercises you do, or what does your breath work program look like?
Yeah. So I actually did some breath work this morning, and it was, I think is it called Panorama? No, what is it called? I forgot what it's called. But it's you breathe through the right nostril and out through the left nostril, and then through the left and then out through the right. So you're alternating nostril breathing, which is very interesting. And it's very interesting when people talk about doing that type of thing to help balance the sides of the body and the sides of the brain. So that's one that I'm currently playing with, and I quite enjoy. I also like doing box breathing. So like 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. And it depends where I'm at. Like if I'm feeling very stressful, even doing something like an inhale for 7 and exhale for 9, and always making the exhale longer than the inhale, which is difficult, but feels so good because you're literally just like letting go of everything that's in your body and your mind. So it depends. I try different ones all the time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So much value there for the Made to Thrive audience. tell people where they can connect with you, your social media handles, your website, and also future for the MFs. I think that's really, really important for the community.
Yeah. So I'm Biohacking Brittany online, biohackingbrittany.com. We're rebranding right now. My new website is coming out very soon. And MFs will be on my website, biohackingbrittany.com. And you can also follow MFs on Instagram, which is MFs and Co. So EMFIESANDCO. So MFs and Co. And yeah, the pre-order is going to be available very soon. There's going to be a very limited amount of pre-orders available. They're going to be at a discounted price. So there's a wait list for them already, which is really fun. You can get on the wait list on my website as well.
Brilliant. Well, the South African born Canadian biohacking Brittany. What a privilege. What a pleasure. Thank you for your calling. Thank you for your purpose. You really put yourself out there. You've been an inspiration to me because I've just seen how you've just been, just faithfully obedient in the same direction to your calling and your purpose. And so well done. I salute you. I thank you. And I trust that the female health and female biohackers grows and grows, because I think there's a real place for someone like you to, understand female health in the most unique way, because you are female. You understand what it means to have a cycle, to have a regular cycle. And then, male health and female health does differ. So thank you so much, and wish you all the best, and a favor and blessing upon you and your fiance and your future generations. So thank you so much. Biohacking Brittany.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. I really like connecting with South African biohackers. It's really, really cool.